I'm live. I'm live. I'm so live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Conscious Medium Brandon Ross. Thanks so much for coming along on this trip. Many of you found me in the last couple of weeks, although I've been around for a little bit. I'm actually here to talk a little bit about my transitional jump from how I utilize YouTube basically from its inception up until about a week ago. And I know people are going to jump on. I know they're going to jump on. It's funny. Well, there we go. A couple of people are chiming in there. It's asking me to manage something. I don't know. I'm learning things as I'm going along here. I'm not upset about this. I'm actually pretty excited about it. Somebody say something just so that I can hear what's going on there. Make sure that you guys are engaged to a certain level. Got a dozen of you already signed up. Signed in. Go ahead and sit and listen. We're going to actually talk a little bit about astrology tonight. I'm going to be like, hi, Arlene, how are you? Thank you very much for being a part of things here tonight, Arlene. I would love to start to hand out prizes left and right, but I've only got so much in the kiln. You know what I'm saying? I'm building something here. I'm building something. I'm going to go ahead and give you a card here, Arlene. Those of you that don't know me, I'm a conscious medium, Brandon Ross. I've actually been at this for the better part professionally for over 12 years. This is all I do for a living. I've actually done over, 30, 40,000 readings over time. And I have taught a ton of classes. And this YouTube channel is going to be an extension of that. Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate that. And I think I saw your commentary there. Hey, Arlene, I'm going to go ahead and give you the Page of Wands. Right out of the gate, this means that something new is coming in, some fiery energy, something to go ahead and help you along in your way. Maybe this is a new business idea. Maybe it's a new friend, if you know what I'm saying. Also, it could be something connected to your new direction. Technical errors, we're just going to keep going. Somebody get me a fiddle. I'm going to go ahead and play it while I burn. There you go. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you so much for the comments, guys. And by the way, I really do try, and I believe in high engagement for these things. Oh my gosh, my lighting is all off. I don't care. Don't judge me on this. I'm actually going to rework all of the studio here for the next set of videos. I have a handful of videos coming up that I'm going to be doing. The In the Stars series is really interesting between, and I really kind of went with the Putin thing. I was really encouraged by another one of my medium friends who sent me a message in the morning and said, did you take a look at Putin's chart? It's amazing. So shout out to Beth that got my brain working like that first thing out of the gate one day. And then I just dove right into it and then kind of, pulled it apart. And I've always had this dream of actually having this studio really kind of spot on. Thank you so much for the compliment. Thank you, Temple. I appreciate it. Tiffany, sassy and cute. Did you pick that name? Just wondering. Looking good. I think it's a really kind of important thing to start to talk about astrology, not necessarily as something negative or giving your power away. I wanted to start doing a couple of these live videos to talk about where it is that I'm going as a channel. I have taught a class called Intuitive Development that works with Elon Musk. Great suggestion. By the way, if you have any suggestions, feel free to jot them down in this. I really do pour over it, even if I don't give a shout out during the conversation. I will definitely kind of bring that up. Kristen, thank you so much for coming on board. She's kind of our marketing director. By the way, here's your card, Kristen. It's the marriage card, 4 of Wands. Can't make this stuff up. Somebody's getting married in a couple of weeks. Mwah, thank you very much. I'll be pulling cards as we go along. The 4 of Wands is about a blessed reunion or blessed union and being able to find everything for celebration. So, Kristen, on behalf of everybody here at Spirit Tree, we love you to death. Go celebrate, kid. So some of where this is going and in my background, it's funny. I do read all of them. All the comments, or at least I do the best that I can, and I certainly like to at least like it. And sometimes I'm compelled to respond. And of course, now you got to go home and show him, Esther. My day's complete. You made the jump from Facebook. Mwah! Esther, thank you so much. Here's a card. The Hierophant. Thank you very much. There you go. Once again, Aries energy. Go get it, kid. I'll be pulling more cards. There you go. Marianne Noonan, you're switching over. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, Patty. Oh my gosh. Yes, classes. Well, let me tell you a little bit about where I'm going with this. So I have done I've been teaching intuitive development, and this is my philosophy. And if this is my interview, so be it. My philosophy with intuitive development is that there's multiple levels. And by the way, if you click in, I don't fully know all the bells and whistles yet with the studio. I'm going to figure it out. So if I look goofy for a second, by the way, being on the other end of this while you're watching it, is there anything more boring than this? I'm just making fun of myself now. Anyways, I have no idea what it is, but I'm not going to knock that out of the park. Laura, I owed you a text. I just saw it as I was coming on. So one of the things that I think that as a philosophy is really kind of understanding this. I think there's a lot of really talented mediums that teach classes, right? It's kind of in the model of becoming a medium. And this is 12 years ago when I was making the jump from corporate world. I was in corporate recruiting for 15 years. But I was developing my skills, my abilities, my connections, all of that. And when I jumped into this, I really approached it as a business person. I made a ton of mistakes with it, tons of mistakes. Thank you very much on the summary of my experiences. And one of the things that I started to realize is that the consistent nature of saying like, oh, well, you do classes here and then you do like circles, but then you don't always, Katie, that's commitment to the cause right there at a bus stop. Be safe, wait for it to come to a complete stop before you go jumping on. And the basic like structure for most mediums is they would teach a class, they would get a quick hit of like, 50, 80 people into a classroom, and then they would do live shows, but then that would feed the funnel into doing more readings, because in those shows, they would, in those circles, in those messages, whatever, messages from loved ones, messages from heaven. I mean, everybody's kind of doing whatever. Well, the dynamic for me, and I kind of ran that model a little bit, but I always looked at my space, Spiritry, as a space for people to develop. And by the way, whether they're around, whether they grow, whether they move out, whether they do whatever it is that they need to do, I honor all of them. No matter how the relationship ended, no matter what your choices were to move on, no matter what your idea was to build into everything that you were meant to be, I'm honored to be part of your path in any way, shape, or form. But I developed a philosophy to understand that, the psychic world is very unpredictable, in an ironic kind of tongue-in-cheek statement. With psychic energy, you need to really kind of just throw a dart. You get impressions, you're able to kind of extrapolate, but you don't know all of the circumstances. Oh, sassy and cute. Astrology is tied to spirituality, both in the North Node, the South Node, and the karmatic relationship. You got to pay attention to things like Lilith and how you manage that. Also, you're going to take a strong look at Neptune and Pluto. So anyways, then it's, hey, Daryl, how are you? Speaking of other mediums hanging out around here. So one of the dynamics that I really started to kind of pick this apart, I became better at what I do because I started to teach. And when you've got psychic stuff, you're kind of throwing a dart, it's future stuff. And the reason being why there's just a high level of accuracy / inaccuracy is because the connection there is you can't account for free will. Like it's not static. It's not in a vacuum. You can't account for the person not picking up the phone. I say this all the time. I can tell you you're going to win the lottery, but if you don't buy the ticket, that's not on me. That's free will. You have to choose that. And by the way, if you are new here, go ahead and like and subscribe. I've got some more news here later on. But yes, Jay, I absolutely do. And if you click along the link on that, actually send me an email. We're actually in transition right now. Send me a quick email. Sandy, who is my wingman, wing gal, is going to start to answer everybody. There's just too many. I'm going to get to everybody. Don't worry. I'm going to get you in. But back on the psychic piece of it, free will. Free will can change the direction of things. Therefore, that's why psychics tend to not really be accurate. They're about 50-50. And by the way, even if they are really good, they're still going to get a lot wrong. They're just going to get it wrong. Now, mediums that are really truly worth their salt will be evidential. That means that they're actually going to pull out evidence that's very specific to your connection with that loved one. It can mean anything from mentioning a song that they play. There you go. Hey, Jan, how are you? I love that. I think that's a reference to the truckers. So thank you very much, Hong Kong. So in mediumship, when you find somebody that's accurate, they will prove evidence. They will show you evidence. Oh, Kat, thank you so much for exploring some of the other channel. Yeah, there's tons of meditations on this. Tons. And by the way, I think I might even have a class or two up. Ontario. I think you guys are calling for me to come to Ontario. Am I international now? I might be. Anyways, so with mediumship, you have to develop your connection with spirit. You have to be able to connect with your spirit guides, your angels, how everything is, well, sassy and cute. Hang on. I've got an offer for you before the end of this. I'm not just selling you anything. But what if I told you you could come into something that could tap into all of these classes that I'm teaching and talk about things like psychics, talk about things like mediumship, and then also talk about intuition, which is actually the building block of all things, of all the other stuff I'm talking about. Psychic, mediumship, shamanism. You work from an intuitive basis, right? And you also kind of connect the dots with kind of how your spiritual centers and how your receptors work. If, and we talk about things like chakras and that sort of thing, so that we understand the basic mapping of the energy centers. And I'm definitely dumbing it down. I know it's an expanded thing, but here within your, hello, Sweden, how are you? Hello, Alberta. I am international. So the connection here with this is that you get your gut feeling, right? You get that intuitive hit. What do you do with it? Well, it's what you act upon it. Do you deliver a message? Do you act on something? Is it yours to actually work with? There are so many things that can go on with that, but you are in control of it. You are in control with how your intuition develops. You are in control with how your intuition is connected. Hello, UK. Hello, Barbados. Roll call. Hi, Gigi. How are you? Well, first of all, your call name handle is Gigi Unhinged. For 30 seconds, you're talking about your hot flashes and your Kundalini rising. Thank you so much. That's kind of, thank you, dear. So they, yeah. And Jay, actually, it's funny. One of my favorite uncles is actually a midwife. And I heard about midwifery very much so growing up, and how connected it is and so forth and so forth. Northern Jersey, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Tara has arrived. Thank you very much, kid. We've got most of New York covered now. UK, Winnipeg, Australia. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. I am global. Thank you so much. It was only a matter of time, guys. Come on. Leo rising. Anyways. So what I'm actually going to be launching, within a week, I was able to monetize this channel. And I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it because it was kind of calculated. I kind of knew that once I dove into something, and by the way, the tree behind me makes it look like I have a halo. Anyways, I will move a little bit to the right just so that it doesn't look too many things. Yeah, Jay, I totally agree with that. By the way, most of my students are nurses, counselors, teachers. Just to let you know, hairdressers too, by the way. Don't think that it's kind of like you're going to have that or whatever. Hey, South Dakota. But intuition is a way of life. Consciousness is a way of life. Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. Texas. You always have to go Miss Congeniality whenever you say Texas. But I have a bigger vision, and I've always had a bigger vision to be able to bring these classes. I've been developing these techniques and these classes and everything else. And when the pandemic hit, I had been teaching classes in person, and I probably had the better part of, I would say I'd have anywhere from 15 to 30 students every single time I would teach it. And I would teach it, 2 to 4 times a year, literally. Sometimes I'd have concurrent classes because I just enjoyed it. I was working the clay and I was really kind of bringing it together. And I met really cool people. I met people that were, that were really good at meditation or crystals or being able to really kind of work the clay for tarot, astrology. I mean, you name it. And I had to lose 2 things in order to really grow. First of all, when the pandemic hit, I had to make this jump to this online format. And then I got really, really good. I had to convert all of these handout papers to being able to have, people be able to, follow along at home and, give postings and that sort of thing. I appreciate that, Alberto. Yeah, Katie, actually, good point. Customer service. Oh boy, do I have a story for you. Anyways, I love to tell the stories. But in developing all of this, where I'm going with this channel is I'm going to turn it into a subscription base. There's still going to be plenty of free content. Don't worry. I'm still going to put out some things, videos about, the astrology of the day and the tarot and that sort of thing. But if you really want to learn what this is, we're going to actually develop and have monthly calendars where by subscription, you're going to be connected to me and all of my expert friends, whether it be in crystals or meditation or tarot. You're going to have an opportunity to have this rolling thing of challenging. By the way, when you're behind the scenes, okay, you can't make it, but you're going to make it because you can catch it and watch it later, right? And it's one of these things where it's time, everybody. It is time. You look at world events. Gigi, thank you so much. I appreciate that. The Chimo coffee for real. Oh, that means. But the way Alberto apparently, you guys know each other. I love when people start talking to. Is Amy Allen a real medium? Oh gosh, I'll never comment on stuff like that. I'm going to tell you that if anybody that truly does this work and works the clay, this is what ticks mediums off. Here we go. This is what ticks mediums off. If you're truly connected and you're truly doing what you feel you're meant to do, you're still going to make mistakes. None of us are infallible. So the way the mediumship works, and by the way, that's the reason why if for some reason I don't resonate with you, find another one that you feel is good, right? Because we all can see pieces of the Akashic records. I can see pages 200 to 700, right? Somebody like Beth might see, pages 500 to 800. Someone like Nick is going to see pages 100 to 500. And then, Sandy is somewhere in the middle of this, and her expertise is crystals, and Nick's expertise is connecting with mediumship. Well, the reason why I'm bringing up all these people is to recognize that, of course, you're going to have different experiences with each mediums. That's why sometimes there's a connection to this where, any of these connections, yeah, probably is. I probably shouldn't have even said anything. Troll. I hope he's not a troll. But, the connection with this. And by the way, I'm perfectly okay if you drop your page in here so somebody goes checks out your content. Let's start to grow this, man. I've got your back, as I should. I'm going to pay attention to pages I'm good at. And when I have somebody in front of me that needs my help, that needs my delivery, that needs my sense of humor, my experiences, all of that good stuff, I'm here to help. But if you go to another medium, whether they're on my channel or not, the Godspeed. Mwah, hope you find what you're looking for, because be on that spiritual path. I'm going to be your cheerleader to it. So back on the classes, what the subscription-based model is going to give you is access to a calendar of events like this. And not just me talking about myself. It might be me doing readings. Might be me turning over cards. It might be me talking about the different conversations, right? Oh gosh, Matt Fraser is only about time. Who had 18 minutes before that one came up? Cutie little lamb 08. Hello, how are you? Just found you, Brandon. Watch your videos nonstop. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. By the way, when you like and subscribe it, if you've done that part of it, share it with a friend. Share it with your friend because, of course, it's a sense of humor, Jay. The reason why you have to have, if your personality doesn't come out in your connection, what good is that, right? And by the way, meditation, it's coming. It's coming. Don't worry. By the way, go ahead and click around into the site and go ahead and see the different meditations that I have in there. I've made them public for the time being because I want people to kind of see that. Yeah, I don't mind, Matt. I don't mind any of them. I've had interaction with a lot of quote unquote famous people, right? A lot of famous other mediums. I had a TV show in production, literally production. Hey Cheryl, how are you? You made me smile. I had a TV show in production. I don't want to rehash who I was going to replace and what channel I was going to be on and all that other stuff. But thank goodness I failed. Thank goodness the pandemic came. That wasn't what I was meant to do. I mean, I could hold my own. I could do my chops. I didn't clean up my own stuff. And I had to really kind of look at that. Thank goodness the universe said, yeah, no, we're going to burn that down a little bit. You're going to have to take a look at yourself. A few of the lessons that I've learned over the last few years is to be able to trust the people around you. Also be able to understand that there's moments, especially as a teacher, that are thankless, and that's okay. Like, I shouldn't have been looking for thank you anyways. And that's why I'm genuinely appreciative when people say, oh my God, I miss your class. Oh my gosh, I miss sitting in that. Yeah, totally a blessing in disguise, Jay. Jay, I love your personality. Listen, Jay, I'm going to give you 3 cards here. I hope you don't mind. I love that. Oh, Gigi, listen, send me an email. Let's connect. Maybe I can be a guest on your site too. I'm totally cool with that. I'm really expanding this. If you take a look, I've got a couple of podcasts out. My good friend Kelsey and I shot a whole bunch of them. We ran into a couple of technical issues, her schedule, my schedule. We're going to have some more of that there coming down the road. So listen, Jay, here you go. 3 cards right out of the gate. I don't know what you're talking about, but here we go. Are all practically perfect in every way. Thank you very much, Mary Poppins. The 9 of Pentacles. And by the way, Pentacles, I'm using the, what's the name of this one? The Leo Marchetti. I'll think of it in a second. I use it all the time and I don't even, what is it? Gilded Tarot. Thank you very much. Sandy's like, don't forget to say Gilded Tarot. By the way, I don't get paid from them. I just think it's a great deck. Blessing in disguise for sure. Jay, this card's for you. The 9 of Pentacles. The Pentacles are actually about resources. And the Mary Poppins card really kind of talks about how you've really kind of gotten it together. You might have had some troubles with the finances before in the past, but now you're kind of getting yourself to a point where, you know what, you've got a little bit to give. You've got a little bit to be like, hey, I'm kind of got this together. Now, you are not ostentatious about this, but you are someone that works hard. Here is your generous nature yet again. The 6 of Pentacles. This is you with even balance with this. And by the way, in the traditional tarot, it's the one where he's standing there and he's got 4 on one side and 2 on the other, and it kind of looks balanced, but it's not. The reason why this still represents balance, it's about remembering yourself and being able to take what you need first. Listen, when something goes wrong on a flight and the mask drops down, you got to put yours on first. That's what that card is. Take care of yourself a little bit first, Jay. This is kind of a little bit of a reminder. And oh, by the way, you are a truth seeker, my friend. There it is, the High Priestess. You're actually about old wisdom coming forward. And by the way, if I was to venture to guess, your mild fascination with not only astrology, but then also tarot and all things that are connected with mediumship and so forth and so on, has to do with something that reverberates maybe in your past life. Just going to give you that. In other words, things, hey, we have 111 guests right now, 111 at 222. Mwah! And then 3 people promptly jumped off to 108. Also a very spiritual number. Namaste. So the way that these cards really kind of read, Jay, is that, listen, good times ahead. You're in balance, and now's the time to further your learning. I just so happen to talk about a place that does classes online. I hope to see you, Jay. Thanks, buddy. Thank you so much, and keep up the good work. Being a nurse for delivery and gosh, it's a tough job, man. Like you're the one in the room, but you develop the relationship, and yeah, it's really kind of cool. Your bio ATM. I'm changing up my stream a bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, send me an email. Send me an email. We'll definitely get back to you on that one there, Gigi. I love your name, by the way. Can you read someone's horoscope if you do not know the time of birth? I mean, someone who was born out in nature without a watcher. And I'm okay. Hey, Roller Ross, I think that's the name there. Thank you, Julie, for the kind words. Jill, good to see you. We were just talking about classes. So, Roller, in the purpose of the time of birth in a natal chart affects a couple of different things, and it could actually make a huge difference. That's why even when we sign up for, when we ask you to sign up and you're like, well, I don't know the exact time, but I know my mom said she got up in the morning and then, my dad was, smoking cigars by noon. So let's guess it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. Like you want to kind of get a roundabout, at least in the worst case scenario. Otherwise you use noon, which will still give a fairly accurate reading, but the moon and the rising could be affected. And in your triad, that could be critical. That could be very critical, but you can still have an effective reading because chances are the houses themselves are not going to change too much. Obviously, the sun sign probably isn't, unless, of course, you're born on February 19th, one of the major cusp days. If you were born at 11 o'clock in the morning on February 19th, you are an Aquarius. If you are born at 12:01, you are a Pisces, and you are the true. That is the cusp of all cusp days, by the way, right? Hi, Lisa loves animals. I love that name. Purple Daisies. Here we are. Indigo Heart. Thank you so much. I love that name. Do you have any idea what happened to my cat sitting? Oh, yeah. I don't know if you'd asked that or not. Listen, that's a really tough thing. There are some really good people that do animal rescue stuff on a public setting. It wouldn't be fair to me or you. But I got to tell you, I think it's just a change of weather. That's just my gut feeling. I'm not actually truly doing a reading. Being a cat guy myself, I love dogs, but I always had cats. By the way, I had a cat named Tesla. We called her Tessie. And then her brother's name was Talus. Those of you that get 80s metal band references, Godspeed. Oh, and also I have an affinity for Nikola Tesla. George Strait. Love your work. Matt Thompson. Hey, how are you? Just another person. Go change that name. You are a unique, lovable soul. Go be it. Says, am I telling you, your poor mom? No. Well, listen, 509. She got out of the way early. Think about it that way. Yeah, in Roller, just kind of as a recap into that. And by the way, I do bounce around. It's all good. Your birth time is really important. Now, listen, I happen to be in these live videos. I like to kind of talk about myself. In classes, we're going to talk about class stuff. I might just, kind of have another. Yeah, Katie, that's a good guesstimate right there. I like that. Just before lunch. Okay, so about 11:30. Run with that. That's a pretty good guesstimated time, and you can draw from it and let serendipity play the rest. I was born in a military hospital, so that was specific. In my chart, I was born at 444. They were very specific. And by the way, when I pull my chart, my Pisces, the angle is 11:11. Huh? Yeah, got to pay attention to that stuff. And by the way, I began to learn astrology when I became enthralled with my own journey. If you're not in love with your own journey, take a deep breath. And by the way, I've always wanted to create a company that is able to give back in some way or another. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to. Yeah, Jill, feel free. But you seem quite sympathetic. Well, I am. There you go. Some encouragement. Bring that cat back. Bring the cat back. Bring the cat back. Born lucky, Brandon. Yeah, listen, there's a little bit of that. Saturn in the 7th. You love your practical nature. Boom. Katie, I used to live in Salem, Oregon. Okay. All right, you guys are having conversations. Go crazy. Somebody mentioned that their time of birth was delayed a little bit for some circumstances. Well, you were born at the exact time the universe needed you to be born. Astrology is all about perspective, right? If you were born on Mars, your astrology would be completely different. You'd have to take into account Earth. But you're born on Earth. Let's just take it simplest terms. Knock 'em, raise 'em. And if you were born later, your due date versus whatever and all that other good stuff. And by the way, numerologists love that. Get a soul path reading with Beth. She'll break down every bit of every number in your chart. It's crazy. These are my friends. These are my friends. And on the flip side of this, you have to understand that you were born at the exact time. And astrology is the exact tools, the governors that might hold you back a little bit, the challenges, the karmatic values that you need to overcome, the things that you are meant to challenge, break through, and become who you are. What a great opportunity. What a great opportunity. So the reason why you look at your astrological chart, first of all, it's not about what could have been, it's what is. By the way, that's science. If we start speculating, we start guessing, that's psychic stuff, 50-50. Give me something I can grab onto. Give me something I can work with. Give me something that I am a Mars and Aries, and oh, by the way, a little bit of a workaholic. Give me something I can work with. Oh, give me some self-awareness. That's what astrology truly is, especially when you're on a spiritual path. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of absolutes. I'm really not. I mean, if you ever work with somebody, one of the challenges. Oh, Angela. Angela, are you in a pool of your own tears? Pisces Sun, Pisces Rising, Pisces Venus, Pisces Chiron. And in the first house, well, of course, your first house, that's your ascending. Holy Toledo, enjoy the tears. Find yourself an Aquarian. They've got a jug. They'll carry your tears for you. But the purpose of astrology, and the reason why we look at natal charts, and the reason why we look at, predictive astrology, looking at times of transits, which is how you do that, they can be very important to how you deliver and how you grow as a person. And by the way, there's very much, a connection. And one of the things that I just want to, it's saying so many words, is that you got to make this journey your own. You really do. And listen, I can't be offended if you're like, what, he kind of talks about himself a little bit. Okay, I do that sometimes. Pisces, Leo rising. By the way, Aquarius moon. I don't care. Anyways, I'm joking. I do care. But the connection part of this, I do care. I really do. But it's the connection of this and the purpose of the journey. And the reason why I actually talk about things like this in the intuitive development, which is a little bit different than the complete astrology. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to pump this right now. Sign up for this online course. We are going to actually charge because it's kind of an old way that we were doing it. It's going to be on Zoom, that sort of thing. And it's kind of a bigger, headier thing. But what we're going to do is connect the dots with being able to show everything from the natal chart, how to really read a natal chart. You're going to get the understanding of that. And then on the other side of that is really kind of breaking down, what do the planets mean? What do the houses mean? How do those combinations work together? What are the powerhouses? What are the challenges? What are the things I need to know about myself so that then I can make better decisions and be able to say somebody? And by the way, thank you so much, Jill. Have you ever met somebody and said, listen, I am this way. This is the way I am. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize right up front. This is the way I am. I get a little driven. I get a little fastidious. And then you talk and I don't listen. It just happens. Right? That is one of those things where, like, that to me is emotional intelligence at its finest. And guys, we're moving towards the age of Aquarius. We are moving towards, I'm going to actually put the link in there. If you need to click off and take a look at that class, I'm only going to have it up at the discounted rate for probably another week. I think I said April. There's some people jumping on, and I'm realizing how popular it is. And just to be fair, I kind of want to have a true early bird rate and then be able to group people into it. But to be able to really pull your own index chart and be able to look at it and be able to look at your daily astrology and be like, ooh, this isn't going to be a good day. A lot of people don't realize this. Remember Jean Dixon? She would do, astrology, and she was doing the horoscopes and all that other jazz, right? And every single paper, I'm like, what kind of a day I'm going to have? Then you'd open it up and you'd be like, a two-star. I'm going back to bed, right? You're like, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm going to read some of these here in a second. But then you would also open it up and then you'd have 5-star days. You didn't have too many 5-star days. Most of them were kind of like 3 or 4, right? That was a general thing, right? Well, it's the bell curve, right? You're going to have some days not so good. Most of them are going to be like, we're okay. And then you're going to have a couple like 5-star days, right? And if it was a 5-star day and you were going to the track, you overbet everything and you probably lost. Sometimes being ignorant to astrology is actually a better thing. When you look at it afterwards, you're like, that's why I'm on a roll. Let it ride, baby. Right? So the dynamic here that I'm talking about is that Jean Dixon actually wrote her horoscopes years in advance. That's why her articles ran almost 18 years after she passed away. She'd already written them. Her estate capitalized on that check. Why? Because it's predictive. It's cyclical. Now, the visualization that you need to have when it comes to astrology isn't the heliocentric sun model. The sun sits in the middle, and then it goes Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and we're just in a little spinny spin. Nope. I want you to pick up that sun, and I want you to throw it as far as you can, and then have all the planets follow after it. Because what's happening is that it's barreling through the universe. And the rest of us are just trying to keep up with it. And Pluto's a planet, everybody. Yeah. In 2006, they went a little nuts. And by the way, that's when Pluto went into Capricorn. They tried to get canceled. By the way, Pluto was the first thing in the cancel culture. I'm going to go off on this now. So Capricorn, when Pluto moves into Capricorn, shit just goes down. Excuse my French. By the way, I know it's not French. But I want you guys to understand something here. Capricorn was a way for Pluto to really come into its own, right? So we get hung up on the planets a little bit, right? What do they mean? How do they mean? Well, let's talk about the planetary influences right now. So Pluto, being transformational, power, the obsessive energy, is a really important thing. And by the way, I'm going to talk about the astrology of what's going on right here. I thought I'd have a few more tools here. I don't. I thought I was going to be able to show a chart, but I'm going to actually talk a little bit about, actually the Earth being tilted, Roller, is actually the reason why sometimes you'll have two signs in houses next door to each other, like the first, second, the fifth, sixth, the 11th, 12th. That tilt is actually part of that. So anyways, you've got Pluto becoming this this planet that just rips the Band-Aid off of everything. Well, in Capricorn is kind of the honey badger of the universe. Just going to tell you, they don't care. I know it's a sea goat, and I don't know what the frick a sea goat is, right? Or the devil, depending on if you're working with tarot. But it's a goat. It might as well have been a honey badger because it don't care. Hi, I'm Capricorn, and I don't really care about your feelings. Oh, are those your feelings? I'm just going to stomp on them. Then you have Pluto showing up and being the neighbor that it's always been. And this is about power. This is about a shift of power, a transformation, whether you like it or not. And guess what? All of a sudden, everything begins to come full circle. In 2006, which is as it was going into Capricorn, the astronomy world was like, it's not really a planet because you got the Kuiper Belt, and the Kuiper Belt was really a planet. It kind of fell apart. And it's sort of one of the moons, but it's just kind of got an erratic kind of thing or whatever. And we kind of know what we're talking about because we're astronomers, and we just, not a planet. Jackasses. If I could build a time machine, 2006 it is. By 2008, you started to see the crumble of things like our financial institutions, our education systems. By the way, between 2008 and 2010, you remember that little thing called the Bernie Madoff scandal? All of a sudden, we realized that our money could be pawned at any given time. Oh, by the way, during this time, too, you had government officials. And again, I really, truly don't try and be political, but I am going to take a pulse on it. We had senators going to the Senate floor, going to Capitol Hill and explaining to themselves why they deleted a whole bunch of emails and why people died senselessly. You also had mayors and governors explaining why they had raffled off political positions. By the way, all the things that were not really built upon was working against it. Well, guess what? Pluto goes, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and expose this. And then Capricorn comes around and goes, can I kill him yet? And by the way, my regards to all Capricorns. You're all very nice, grounded people. And one of them is burning a hole in the side of my head right now. However, the dynamic that I really want to kind of point out to this is that that's how astrology works. When you look at the predictive index of things, which is what I want to talk about here. And by the way, he's really by the book there. Yeah, there you go. Most Capricorns, Capricorn there is. Funny that he doesn't believe in it. Oh, don't worry about whether they believe in it, right? And by the way, Capricorn moon, I see Jill mentioning Capricorn moon, deep souls in that one. Holy crap. depending upon the actual, placement of it, right? The moon sign stuff, which is a whole other thing. I mean, that's actually part of this complete astrology as well. The Capricorn moon, I mean, listen, you're critical. You want to make sure that you've got your stuff squared away. And the way to your heart is is being able to have somebody around you that can handle your crazy, your freak flag. When your freak flag comes out and you're just like, I'm a little angry and I just want to have nachos. And then you're just like, I'll make you some nachos. Really? Really? You gonna make me nachos? Because all I want is nachos. Make sure you put the cheese right on it. Okay, hon. I'll put the cheese on the nachos. I mean, that's where it goes, right? Really? You do that for me? Yeah. That's how you get to the heart of a Capricorn moon. You put up with their slight nonsensical non-ramification. No, listen, if they're abusive and they're like, I'll cut a bitch. I'll cut your tires. I'm going to slash your tires. Like, that's a little crazy, right? Nah, we don't have room for crazy. But listen, we all have within a relatively modicum amount to be able to go a little bit off the rails and still be within a good relationship. Can we all agree upon that? Can I get an amen? Thank you very much. Right? But astrology is a really important, aspect. And one of the things I want to talk about today, and I have no visuals to show you. I should probably just pick up, like a couple of spheres or something out of the shop and be like, this is Jupiter and this is Venus. And then they're all doing this. I swear I don't drink. So I just want to bring up what we're headed towards. And this has everything to do with the world. Because at any given time, the astrology of the world kind of envelopes it around, right? So it kind of like moves around all the way around. So there's some aspect of this to hit different parts at different times, right? So on 4/4/22, this is a really important date in our world history because something unique is happening. And again, this is global. This is across the world. But at any given time, there's certain things in the way, right? The moon will change, Mercury will change slightly, that sort of thing. But on 4/4/22, Venus, Mars, and Saturn are in conjunct. And oh, by the way, they are in the 8th house. So when we take a look at the 8th house is all about sex, death, finances, your taxes. It's the Benjamin Franklin. The only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes, right? So in this 8th house, you have this conjunction of Venus, when I was a younger man, I had to kill. Love, beauty, art. And then you have Mars, symphony of destruction, action, desire, aggression, standing your ground. And then you have Saturn, restriction, pessimism, structure, all of them acting on it. By the way, Venus is the odd one out. This is a really tough thing. So these are the types of things that will go down with that type of conjunction. You've got Saturn going structure. You've got Mars going, yeah, I'll fight you for a Twix. And then you have Venus going, I just want to love you guys. Like, why can't I? By the way, Saturn's ruled by Capricorn. Mars by Aries. Right? So you've got your love bombing no love bombing during this time. And this has to do with our destruction. By the way, the last time this conjunction happened in the 8th house, and I believe it was the 8th house, I'm 99% sure it's in the 8th house. There was a little thing in the United States called the Rodney King trial. Do you remember how LA burned for a week? Where love, can't we all just get along? All he had to say was, I love Venus. And if he says it the wrong way, it looks a little weird, right? He said, the Venus. By the way, the time before that was a small little skirmish called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Guys, this is a serious conjunction. The world is primed for some change. Now you look at things like Ukraine. Now you look at things like Russia, and their occupation there. And oh, by the way, go ahead and take a look at any part of the worldview. I'm trying not to be political. But if there's conflict somewhere, I mean, listen, the United States government has a tendency of going like, Yeah, well, we don't want to pay for that. And we're going to stonewall this and we're going to filibuster and we're going to blah, blah, blah. And we get kind of unhooked. And then we play chess again, play chess in our own people. I'm going to make a prediction because this is where the predictive qualities come in. Now, Vladimir Putin has free will. He can wake up tomorrow and go, I'm sorry, I did what? 200,000 Kiev? Ooh. Tell them we thought it was golf season and we need to bring everybody back. Please? So sorry. We came in and we won, and then we left. We didn't want to rub their faces in them. Give him his pride. He could do that. Right? And by the way, Zelensky, which, by the way, am I the only one that picked up on Zelensky also being the same name as Dan Aykroyd's character in Tommy Boy? I mean, how predictive is that movie? I'll do a channel on it. I'll do a show on that. And again, this isn't about ousting Putin. It's about him learning his lesson. I would rather have him learn his lesson. The wolves are at the door for him. With Zelensky, he is going to be driven. There's no quitting him. If you watch that video, it was about how he was going to drive, and I do mean drive, the passion of a country to never quit and give up. Would he give his life for it? Hell yeah, it's right in his chart. Does he care more about his family? I mean, he truly is the quintessential, God, family, core country. Like that's like he's there. He is 100% involved, right? And then you have this primer, and that's what astrology gives us. It gives us the condition, the wind type, the temperature, the astrological energy. I'm talking about energy here. The energy is going to be set for sincere but necessary conflict to move us to a higher level. May God protect us all. Because during this time, we've got some tools, guys. We definitely have some tools. One of the tools that we have in all of this is how the moon is going to roll, right? Gosh, I wish I had this up in front of me. I think we're just after a full moon, too. I think. It might be during a full moon. Full moon, Aries, yeah. But you also, Jupiter's still in Pisces. Uranus is in Taurus still. The sun's in the 10th house and Mercury's in the 10th house. This is the hope, guys. The hope is that the fiery energy of passion, which Aries is the warmonger, guys. Aries likes to fight. They just do. They like to stand. If they're justified, they go. And by the way, if you've read anything, and I get into the misinformation, why is your intuition important? I'm about to summarize everything I've just been talking about. Do you know why your intuition is important and why you should develop it? Because we have been inundated over the last 3 years with news that doesn't make any sense. And the only thing that you have to rely on is yourself. If you're relying on news sources solely, they're lying to you. If you're relying on the dude at the gas pump, they're kind of mimicking whatever it is they heard in their own interpretation. We are getting into a world where we have to pay attention to our intuition, and that is going to be the most important thing. Why do we not teach this? I do. We don't teach this because if you have your intuition, if the people of Russia paid attention and trusted their gut and wasn't, thank you, OP Street, love you. If you're in this capacity and you're being under fight or flight, being scared, you can't develop your intuition. Right? Katie, I hope that bus comes soon. And by the way, guys, we got to lose this thing about who's going to win. I'm telling you, the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia have already lost by these actions. Buildings are blown up. Families have lost people, right? It makes you pause and wonder what the freak we're doing here, right? And then on the flip side of this, there is a contention about who we are. Recognize your own bias. Recognize your own statement when you say, and by the way, look at your chart and find out where your ego is. I'm a Leo rising. I got a Taurus in the 10th house, mofo. I'm going to take you down. You challenge me. Mwah, mwah, mwah. This time I act like a 12-year-old for 30 seconds. It's good video. But we've got to get away from this us versus them thing, right? The idea, I have had my organization torn apart because of agendas. That's what I learned 4 years ago. Everybody had their own agenda and they had no problem taking one another out. It was like Survivor. It wasn't a well-to-do place. Well, I cleaned that up. I got the right people on board. Love them. Ride or die tribe. But you begin to understand that why are we tired as empaths? Because we're all empathetic. You would not have stayed on this long if you weren't an empath. By the way, it's time for the empaths to start rising. By the end of the week, you're going to have an opportunity to support Ukraine. We're going to be coming out with a t-shirt called Empath Rising. And we will move it from cause to cause. And from my way, I've always wanted to have a company that always gave into and back to the people that really needed it. What do I do from here? I am 10,000, 40,000 miles away from Kiev. I don't know. I have a problem with depth perception. 4 inches is 1.5 feet. Anyways, I'll let you figure out that joke. I can hear you. And we've got to start to realize that we're actually part of the problem. And what do we do? And then we start to recognize, we start to conceptualize, like, how do we help those people? Throw them money. Oh, okay. And then you find out that, and then we stop giving money because we found out that this organization pays their corporate directors 3/4 of what you donate. And then you find out that this one, the money never really kind of gets there. That's why I'd rather have a link to the Be Strong Foundation and have them just collect the money. I don't even want it. I don't want, by the way, this is a dirty thing in corporate America. I don't know where it is around the world, but they will do things like, we're supporting breast cancer. And then they say, we're going to, for every jersey you buy, no matter what team, you will get the pink version of the logo, and $1.50 is going to go to breast cancer awareness support and being able to research so we can cure everyone. And then on Sunday, everybody shows up in a pink shirt. And then if you read the fine print, they capped it at $100,000, which is nothing compared to what they sold. You get bamboozled. Do you hear that, Mr. Goodell? You're full of shit. You don't really care about breast cancer. You care about sales. Make 100% donate it. Actually, just take out the franchise fees. I get it. Just take out the franchise fees. Donate the franchise fee. And by the way, Jeffrey Lurie of the Philadelphia Eagles deserves to get called out for something positive. He actually recalculates the amount. I think Bob Kraft does it too, of the Patriots. He's got his own moral issues, but we won't go there. But they actually recalculate at the end of the year and make a large lump sum donation to Susan Komen. And again, Susan Komen is what it is. But the dynamic of it is that they see something wrong and then they're trying to do something right with it. Well, my organization is doing this, but I can step up and I'm empowered to do this. That's being Aquarian. That's looking at it and saying, you know what? I'm part of this, and I'm not trying to make up. And by the way, get over the guilt part of it. whether it be privilege guilt, white guilt, whatever. Just make me run with knives with that crap. Own your own energy and say, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that maybe this isn't right, and this is how I can make it better. Where are we going with this? We have to develop our intuition, because when the bad guys are at the door, we have to take a deep breath and say, what's the best for me? What's the best for the people I love, my family, the people around me, right? It's kind of like on that day when you lost your job. I don't think there's a single person on this channel that hasn't been fired, let go, we're going in a different direction, whichever way they horse hockey bullshit you on the way out the door. And you get that gut feeling beforehand. And you go through this sense of loss, which, by the way, is the emotional center of feeling. 100% Melody. Nobody wins at war. And you walk in there and you know your fate. DoorDash is here. And you know your fate, and you walk in and you sit down. And then Empath Rising, that's right, Kristen, thank you very much. And you sit down with them, you sit across from it, and you got nothing to lose. You're playing with house money, right? You sit back and you're like, what's going on, guys? I know you're going to fire me. I know you're going to let me go. I'm going to let you squirm for a little bit, because guess what? I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, but I don't have to come back here. You're releasing me, right? So your intuition leading up to that, you go back and forth between like, I want to lose my job. And then you start to realize like the quality of what you were doing was horse hockey anyways. You weren't a good employee. You clearly didn't do the job. You weren't cut out for it. And then they're cutting you loose and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. Do you have anything else to do? Well, no, we're going to have to fire you. Listen, all right, well, let's go shake hands. One of the best jobs I ever left, I sat down with the owner of the company and I said, listen, I have all the skill set that you need for this. I really do. But I just don't like what goes on here. By the way, this company has some serious HR issues. And if I'm the leader of your HR issues, hope you got a lawyer. That was awful. I can't believe I said that about myself. I should really have higher self-esteem. Should hire 2 lawyers because I'm good. Anyways, thank you guys for the kind words. Yes, Empath Rising. To be able to, begin to kind of create the conversation and the dialogue, I would have been remiss if I didn't have the opportunity to say to him, I didn't really like coming here. And I've got to be honest, I really wasn't all that productive the last 2 or 3 months. And then he's like, well, I guess I should get a refund for your salary, because everybody thinks that's the only energy in the room. And I politely said to him, I said, what I'm going to say is enough for me to keep my salary. And he went, oh. And the key people were there. Finance person, the CEO, the operations guys, the sales guys, all the people I was really kind of servicing from the HR standpoint. Yeah, it was rules and regulations, but it was a lot of recruiting. And I said to him, nobody in this room is on the same page. And he said, well, maybe we were looking for you to be on the same page, to get us on the same page. You never did these activities that you said you would. You didn't do any team building. And then I calmly explained to him, because you're not a team. You're individual people. And then I proceeded to expose the CEO, the CFO, who had been on 3 interviews the week before. Then I exposed the chief operating officer that was ready to go back to his old job because he didn't want to pitch things anymore. Oh, and then when I brought up the director of sales that was ready to open up his own competitive business, that's when the shit hit the fan and the place exploded. And then the owner of the company looked me dead in the eye in the middle of people yelling. He said, "Why would you do this?" And I calmly said to him, with a smile, because that's how you deliver news like this, I said, "I did more to build your team in the last 2 minutes than I did in the last 10 months I was here." And he said, "Well, you've got these people yelling at each other." Now he's yelling at me because, he's the owner of a company, right? He thinks he has the best company in the world. He's going to take over ColecoVision. Just went 1980. And he called me about 3 weeks later. I was there probably till the end of the week. I love that question, Sonny. I'm going to get back to you there. And what I kind of politely said to him, I worked out the week. I know I didn't stay the full 2 weeks because I pissed off a lot of people with that. And he called me a couple of weeks later. He said, "Listen, I've got to beat on this other HR guy. You said you'd do the interview with us." And I said, "I'd be happy to." He goes, "Now, I don't want you to tell anybody. 172 on here, 127 thumbs up. Synchronicity in numbers, 1-1. That's an 11. And by the way, at 10101 of the telecast. Pay attention to the numbers, everybody." So he had me come in and he met this guy, and this guy was great. He was a superstar. Like, he was somebody that was known in the area, kind of a fixer-upper guy. Had to pay a little bit more. My ego wasn't attached to that. But I said to him, I'm like, "Dave," I go, this could actually be a really great company. They have a great vision in the owner, but the owner doesn't know how to get there. And then he said, "Why'd you leave?" And I said, "I did the best thing I could do for you." And he said, "What?" And I said, "I raised it. I came in and I leveled it." Of the 5 people that were in that room, there was only 2 of them left. I'm like, "You can start from scratch." He goes, "This is a lot of work." And I go, "But you can build it your own." By the way, he went on to stay there for 10 years. He won a bunch of awards. He actually turned it into a really kick-ass company. He really did. But I couldn't do that because I had to be the detonator guy. I had to be the guy that went in and blew up the River Kwai before the bridge, before it gets there. Oh, listen, manners are just a moving thing. Somebody asked about COVID. Did you see the COVID coming in your readings? Interesting thing, Sonny. Thank you so much for the comment. And by the way, here's your card. Oh, I'm going to explain this, then we're going to talk about COVID in the readings. 7 of Wands, you are battle tested. You, my dear Sonny, are somebody that has been there, done that, but you ain't going to do it anymore. You're also going to overcome some obstacles because you're smart. You've been there. Wands are fiery energy. You're always ready to fight, but you're probably a little tired of the fight. Am I right? By the way, strong late Leo energy, maybe right on the cusp, going into Virgo. You are ready to defend the castle. Dare I say, a little bit of the Zelensky card. Ooh. Maybe I'll make a post on that one. Kristen, get on that. So what's our role to predict things, right? What's our role to be able to take away free will versus being able to encourage free will? And it's funny, I just had a home party about a week ago. And this is when I talk about this stuff, it's true stories. If they're ever on it and they want to say, "Oh, that was me," that's great, but I'll never out somebody. Everything's in private. It's spiritual. It's my path. It's their path. And I hadn't seen her since before the pandemic, and she set up this home party. Love to see you, middle of nowhere. Ugh, I'm driving forever. All these back roads. It's like, just move next door to me. Just kidding. I love seeing the country. Katie, take an Uber. Somebody send Katie an Uber. What's up with the buses there, Katie? Jeez, for the love of God. So in the middle of the home party, she was the one that set it up, and usually the one that sets it up is usually the host, but that wasn't the case. It was her sister, and her sister had actually been in a horrific accident. And the woman that invited me and set this up, let's just call her Katie. I'm going to use Katie here. That's not her name, but Katie Arbuckle, I hope your bus gets there. No, wait, never mind. Okay. All right, Katie. We'll tune in later. Send me a message. Let me know you got there okay. Empath Rising. So Katie, who I had seen a couple of years earlier, waits till the end of it, and I connect her with her mother, and there was her sister there and her daughter. Beautiful reading, great connection. And then at the end of it, she says, Brandon, she goes, I have to tell you, the last reading I got from you shook me to the bone, like to my core. And I'm like, well, okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. She goes, no, you don't understand. What you did flat out frightened me because you kind of stumbled a little bit. My husband and I were about to build a home. And I had asked, so are we going to build the house? And you said, absolutely not. She's like, what? And I go, there's something that's going to slow this down. There's something that's going to be put right in the way, and it's not your time. You can do it down the road, but there's something about the timing of this, whether it's the city, the town, whatever, right? Holding it up, which is not uncommon. And sure enough, her sister gets in this horrific accident. The pandemic hits. Her and her husband both lose their job and their financing. The two of them are borderline destitute, taking care of a crippled sister. And they just don't know what to do anymore. They're just like, wow. But before I left that day, she said, you really got to explain yourself. I go, the only thing I'm going to tell you right now is that I meant to hug you. And I gave her a hug. She goes, this is creepy. This is weird. You're weirding me out. Not creepy. My hugs are quite good, by the way. I'm certified. It was that I chose to just show her compassion in that moment because that's how they showed it to me. Now, could I predict COVID hitting? No. But I knew what she was about to go through in the loosest of sense. That would have just created panic. That would have just allowed her to just sink. And that's not fair to her. It's not fair to take away her free will. What are you, nuts? Right? Thank you, Bertram. Compassion is incredibly important. You're right. I knew my role in that moment. And by the way, I knew my role because I paid attention, because I worked the clay at this. I'm not perfect. Listen, are there better mediums out there? Probably. Are there better astrologers? Guarantee it. Are there better tarot readers? Uh-huh. But there's only one me. It's the only way I can describe it. I'm not trying to be anybody's best anything. I'm trying to be the best for you. And in that moment, that hug, she said, I hung on to that. She said, I began to understand that you were just telling me it was okay. Yeah, I gave her a hug again. She said, it feels different. It feels like it's going to be okay. I go, it was always going to be okay. All you had to do was click your heels, dear. It's an amazing thing. Oh, Mary Hill, enjoy your conjunction. Hi, B. Do you? Thank you. And it's an amazing thing when you start to be the person that you're meant to be. And by the way, I don't think you can be the person you're meant to be without using your intuition. Not spiritually, anyways. So I want to thank you guys for coming along. I have to, why not build in my schedule so thick that it's whatever. And by the way, I have seen all of the emails. I've gotten a boatload of messages. We actually had a challenge, and I will actually be posting a video about why we will not be using, I'm not going to use the word right now, but it begins with a B, and it's not Brandon. The scheduling software that is connected to an organization that I will not do business with. And I am, thank you so much, Sunny. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you, Maggie. I mean, how else are you going to, by the way, Maggie, I'm not perfect. Trust me, I flipped somebody off on the road today. I literally, I get frustrated. Human. I'm human. Be human. But when you have that opportunity and you're not in that fight or flight mode and you're in that spot where you can show love and compassion, what's your excuse? You owe it to everybody around you to be the best that you can be. It's that simple. That simple. So guys, stay tuned. This is going to be a subscribed thing. We're going to do some live stuff too, some public stuff. I hope you come along. But I'm moving a platform that is proven. I've had thousands of students literally at this point. We're going to develop a calendar so then I can help my students, my friends shine. I want this to be a bigger connection because I know a lot of great people and I want you guys to meet them too. I also have a lot to say. Yes, I'm going to have my sense of humor. Slightly inappropriate, at times a little off color, but always entertaining. I'm going to put it at a strong PG-13. But I just love the idea that this platform has already accepted me. I've already been able to monetize this channel. And it's more about making sure that we're in the right position. Thank you, Norway. Thank you, B. Thank you so much for the perspective. Roller, thank you so much. I'm glad I got to your question there. Sunny, by the way, how's Katie doing? Is Katie on there? Yes, Maggie, I am human. Just another person. Work on that. Jay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Donna, how are you? Thank you. I know that name, Donna. Thank you. Hey, Julie. Okay, hold on a second. I got to help you here. Julie Jansen. So 2 things out of this. Your son's going through what he's understanding with who he is. Huh. Here we go. First card up. 7 of Swords. 7 of Swords, kind of like you got to cut your losses here. And now this isn't you cutting your losses. This is your son. This is his ego. This is him chasing something he shouldn't. Whew. It's kind of heady. Then we've got the 8 of Cups upside down. By the way, if you like astrology, you love tarot too. Another class I'll be teaching a little bit later on. But get into the community with the astrology now. The rates are going up in 2 weeks. The 8 of Cups upside down really kind of indicates the idea of he's kind of let it all loose. But I like where we're going with this because the 3 of Cups comes out. 3 of Cups is a celebration card, but it's also a perspective card. Whatever he's going through, he's got to go through. Sorry. Tough for a mom to hear. He's going to make mistakes. Things are going to go upside down. By the way, the 8 of Cups upside down. Sometimes somebody has to really lose something they love in order to learn a lesson. It's that simple. But the 3 of Cups give me a ton of hope here for you. Maybe he's going through this so he can help others. Anybody else sense a theme tonight? Julie, the only thing I can do here as an empath is to say I have him in my thoughts and prayers. And not thoughts and prayers in the bullshit way of just throwing it so that I can get out of the relationship, so that I can get out of the engagement. No. I have a relationship with these angels, and I just asked Archangel Michael to show up, move this along, give you ease and comfort, help you understand, whether it be through perspective. By the way, I can't change his fate, but I can comfort you and I can comfort him to get through it in a way that he learns this lesson and his mother gets his son back. How about that one? All right, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Since we can't be together right now, we're going to do the heart tap to tell each other we love and care for one another, so that we can bring out the best in one another and the best version of ourselves as we remind ourselves to just keep going. Thank you, guys, for all the likes and subscribes. Keep it going. Share with your friends. Suggest it. And by all means, send the message. We will get back to you by the end of the week. We've got a business plan in place for this. All right, guys. Look for some more videos later tomorrow on Wednesday. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's on Donald J. Trump. Maybe you've heard of him. Maybe he's only the best thing he's ever told you about. His chart is pretty impressive. And by the way, my students have already seen me do this. I just have to kind of recut it and kind of do it a little bit differently so it's not as grainy. Oh, and by the way, thank you guys so much for giving me the suggestions. A few people actually were kind enough to send notes to tell me what my resolution error was. Thank you. And by the way, I hope to get better. I reserve the right to change. I reserve the right to collect more information and make better decisions as I go along in my path. So thank you guys. Thank you. I love constructive criticism. The dipshits that are just like, he doesn't know it. This isn't really astrology. He's just. All right, guys. Thank you so much. How do we get out of this? Thanks, guys. Keep going.